Hello and welcome to Enjoy English School.
欢迎来到 Enjoy 英语学院。
I'm Stevie.
And I'm Laurie.
Now, today we're looking at our composition lesson, and our title is Don't Park Illegally.
所以今天来到我们看图作文的单元哦，这个不要违规停车就是我们的作文题目哦。那同样的会有图片让大家看，然后根据这个图片的进展呢，我们来写出今天的这篇作文。我们赶快跟着 Stevie 老师一起来写一写吧。
Don't park illegally. Last Sunday, Nate was seeking a space for his car in a parking lot.Unfortunately, he found out that the parking lot was already full. Since Nate was running late for an appointment, he decided not to find another place to park. Instead, Nate pulled over and parked his car on the side of the road with a red line. He ignored the sign that said "No temporary parking" and left. When Nate returned to the place a few hours later,He was shocked to find that his car was gone. He stood stiffly for a while, and then he noticed a phone number and the license plate number of his car written on the ground. He hastily hailed a taxi to the towing yard. After paying the ticket, he finally got his car back. Nate learned his lesson and has never parked his car illegally ever since
then.Okay, so today's article is a little story, right? So last Sunday, Nate was seeking a space for his car in a parking lot. Now, this sounds very formal, okay? We could say Nate was looking for a parking space in a parking lot.
对。
But he was seeking a space for his car. He was looking for a place to park.
对，所以呢，一开始我们来看到第一句讲到说，上个礼拜天呢 ，Nate 呢，他正在找一个位子来给他的车停，地点在哪里呢？在一个停车场里面。
Unfortunately, he found out that the parking lot was already full. So unfortunately, we could also say unluckily.
对。所以呢，很不幸的是，他发现了呢，这个停车场已经满了哦。这里的话呢 ，full 就是满的意思，所以呢，已经没有停车位了。那 unfortunately 或者是刚刚 Stevie 老师说的另外一个字，我们也可以写起来 unluckily， 我们可以拼一下
Unluckily, U-N-L-U-C-K-I-L-Y, unluckily. And the opposite would be fortunately, or luckily.
把那个 un 那个 on 拿掉哦，那个字首拿掉，就变成是幸运的啊。幸运的是什么什么
Yeah. Now, since Nate was running late for an appointment, he decided not to find another place to park. Since, okay, this just means because. Because Nate was running late, so he was already late.When you're running late, that means time is up. Okay, if you are running late for work, you may be late for work. You don't have time to stop for a cup of coffee. You have to get there fast. You're running late. So he was running late for an appointment. And he decided not to find another place to park. He decided not to look for another parking space.
对。所以呢，接下来讲到说，因为 Nate 呢，他已经迟了他的一个约会啊，所以这里的 was running late， 它就是这已经迟了。然后呢，这个迟的这个对象是什么呢？就是 for 啊，就是他的这个他快要迟到的这个对象呢、for 的后面是一个 appointment 啊，或者我们也可以讲说 a date 啊，就是
Well, a date would be 跟喜欢的人约会。
对
But an appointment means like probably for business or for work or maybe a doctor's appointment.
对
It's some sort of business or service that you've set a time, you have to be there. But if we wanted to say date, oh, I have a date. then that's with like good friends or somebody that you like. So appointment and date are very different in English.
所以呢，因为 Nate 呢，他是 was running late， 他就快要迟到了啊。迟到什么呢 ？For 后面告诉我们是 an appointment， 他有一个约，他快要迟到了，所以他决定呢，他不要再去找另外一个地方来停车了，不找停车位了啊。
Now here I want to add something. In Chinese, often appointment, this word is translated as 约会, right? Sometimes. Like 你刚讲对了，他有约。
对。
But I want to let you know that an appointment and a date 就是跟你喜欢的人约会，或是跟朋友去约会。
朋友也可以， yeah. 对。
That we would call a date, okay? But in English, an appointment is when you have to meet somebody maybe for business, or you have a doctor's appointment. 你有约看医生。
对。
Or you have to, it's for something like business or a service or something serious. You have an appointment with your customer or your client.
对。
But if you say, I have a date, then that means you are going with somebody you like or a close friend. You could even go on a date with your husband or wife. But date and appointment in English are very different.
对，所以呢，简单的来说的话，一般我们中文讲的约会，其实你是要用 date 这个字啊。那如果说呢是用 appointment， 你有某个事情跟某个对象，然后呢做了一个时间上的约定，要会面，要 meet， 这个时候呢你就用有约，那你就用 appointment， 这样就可以了。
Yeah. We just said he decided not to find another place to park. But we already said that the parking lot was full.
对，已经满了。
Right? So instead of looking for other places to park, instead, Nate pulled over and parked his car on the side of the road with a red line.
Ooh.
Now, in Taiwan, we all know what happens when you park on a red line.
对。
You get a ticket or your car or your scooter goes bye-bye.
对。
It
disappear.
It gets what we call towed. T-O-W-E-D. My car was towed.
对，被拖了。
Yeah.
哦。
So he pulled over and parked his car on the side of the road with a red line.
所以呢，这里的话呢，我们看到这里的 instead 相反的啊，他没有再去找一个可以停的地方，相反的呢，他开到了路边去，然后停的他的车呢，在一边是有画着红线的那一个边啊，所以呢，就是刚刚讲的这个下场很明显啊，这个通常呢代表着第一，你的车可能会消失，因为被拖了；第二个，你要付钱了，因为有罚单啊。
He ignored the sign that said no temporary parking and left. Okay, he ignored. When you ignore something, usually when we use the word ignore, that means on purpose.
对，
你是故意不理这个东西。
没错。
Yeah,如果是不小心, I'm sorry, I wasn't ignoring you on purpose. But the word ignore 就是很主动的。
对，没错。
You choose not to talk to them or not to see that. Or to just, I don't care. 不理他。So he ignored the sign that said no temporary parking. Temporary means even like short term. Temporary 是暂时， right?
对。
So no temporary parking means you can't park here even for a short time. No, you can't. But he ignored the sign and he left.
所以呢，这里的话呢，那他怎么做呢？他停到了那个红线的那一边之后呢，他忽视了这里的 ignore， 刚刚 Stevie 老师有讲到了，尤其你是故意的是有意识自己决定要不管忽视了这个标志，标志上面写着禁止临时停车这里的 temporary 就是暂时的、临时的意思，短期的然后呢就离开了。
When Nate returned to the place a few hours later, he was shocked to find that his car was gone. So when he returned to the place, what place? The place that he parked his car. So when he went back to get his car, he was shocked to find that his car was gone. He shouldn't be shocked.
对啊，应该要有心理准备的。所以呢，当 Nate 呢，他回到return 这个意思就是说你从某一个地方离开，然后再回到，这种叫 return 所以当他回到了 to the place， 那个 place 是什么地方呢？就是他原本刚刚乱停车的地方。然后呢，时间是 a few hours later， 已经好几个小时之后了呢。He was shocked， 他非常惊讶的 to find， 来发现到呢，他的车已经不见了。
No surprise.
You should know.
Right. So what do you do? What do you do when this happens? You stand there going, oh no. Oh. He stood stiffly for a while, and then he noticed a phone number and the license plate number of his car written on the ground. So we know this is Taiwan. This is what they do.
对。
In the US, they don't even do that. They just tow your car, and you have to find out where it went.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
好狠哦。
So, he stood stiffly. When we say somebody is standing stiffly, stiff. 就是很
僵硬的。
很僵硬, right?
对。
So he stood there like,就是很僵硬的。
对。
So he stood stiffly for a while. My car was, what a day. And then he noticed a phone number and his license plate number, the license plate number of his car written on the ground. Because they do that in Taiwan. They write it in chalk.
对，用粉笔写。
Yeah.
对。所以呢，接下来呢，当他发现车子不见了以后呢，他呢先是僵硬的站在那边，僵直的站在那边，站了好一会儿for a while， 站了好一会儿。然后他注意到 ，he noticed， 这个动词是注意到的意思，注意到了有一个电话号码，还有呢，他车子的这个牌驾照，他车子的这个车牌的号码，然后呢。这个已经写在这个地上了written on the ground， 写在这个地面上。
So, I mean, here we could also just say, and then he saw a phone number and his license plate number. So, here there's a few words you can learn as well. License plate, 就是车牌。
对。
License plate number, 车牌号码。
That's right.
And his phone number, or not his phone number, a phone number that you call, and his license plate number were written on the ground. Now, right now, he should feel lucky that it didn't rain. Because that's what happened to me.
Really?
My scooter, I parked it in the wrong place. My own fault, right?
Yeah.
Poor guy. And it rained, and so I couldn't see the phone number.
Wow.
And I was like, oh! So I had to look on my phone. Oh, where do they tow cars in this area?
对对对， 最近的。
Yeah. So he was lucky, okay? So he sees the phone number. He sees his number on the ground. He knows his car has been towed. So he hastily hailed a taxi to the towing yard. Okay? Hastily means quickly. In haste means to be, you're in a hurry. So he quickly hailed a taxi. Now, right now in Taiwan, a lot of us, we call a taxi or we just use the app, right?
That's right.
But to hail a taxi is when you go, hey, taxi! Taxi! That's hailing a taxi. So he hailed a taxi, and he hailed it, and then it took him to the towing yard. The place they tow cars to is the towing yard.
所以呢，他很快的 hastily 他很快的、很匆忙的呢，就 hailed a taxi， 招了一台计程车，所以就是刚刚 Stevie 老师那种叫的方式招了一台计程车，然后呢，赶快赶去这个拖吊场，是 towing yard。
I also learned something that if you get towed and you hail a taxi, they already know where to take you.
Ah, really?
Most of them. If the taxi is from that area, you can say, oh, I need to go to the towing yard and I just got towed. And they're like, oh, I know where that is.
Usually it's not far.
Yeah. Usually it's not too far. So he got to the towing yard. And then the next sentence says, after paying the ticket, he finally got his car back. So we didn't say he got a ticket. We just know if your car gets towed, you have to pay a ticket. You have to pay a fine.
对
And we call that a ticket. 就是红单。
对
right?
罚单。
罚单。Yeah. So after paying the ticket, so he paid his fine for the ticket. He finally, 终于 finally got his car back.
所以呢，在他到达了这个拖吊场，当然接下来就是要付罚单了所以呢，不必讲他拿到一张罚单，所以这边的句子直接讲说，在他付清了罚单之后，他终于把他的车给取回来了。
Yeah. So remember, in the beginning, he was running late. Oh, I'm going to be late. I'm going to be late. Okay, I'm just going to park here. So, that was an expensive lesson.
Yeah.
Right? I love in Chinese, you guys say, oh, 我今天交了好多学费. You know, when you talk about making a mistake and...
Yeah, learn a lesson.
Yeah, so the next sentence says, Nate learned his lesson. So when we say, I hope you learned your lesson, this is not talking about your school lessons.
No.
这个不是在讲，你有没有做好你的功课? Okay? If you learned your lesson, that means you did something bad or wrong or just maybe dumb. You made a mistake. Okay? And that mistake cost you something. Maybe it cost you money. Maybe it cost you a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
You know, 有可能他只是找你很多麻烦。
对。
But you think, oh my gosh, I will never do that again. So Nate learned his lesson and has never parked his car illegally ever since then. So from that time on, he never parked illegally again.
对。所以呢，这个最后这一句呢，它是这个结论句啦我们常常在作文里头讲的就是呢，这个 Nate 呢，他呢就是学到了他的这个教训学到了宝贵的一课，然后呢，也就从那个时候起叫 ever since then 从那时候起呢，他就再也没有是 has never 再也没有呢把他的车呢就是这个非法的乱停了。
Okay, so it's a short article. We are going to stop here and we're going to come right back and look at some words and vocabulary, some phrases that we learned today. Okay, looking at our words and phrases for today, the very first word I want to talk about is illegally. Illegally just means you did something that was illegal. Okay? Illegal, duh.
对。
Right?
对。
And the opposite of illegal is legal. We also learned unfortunately or unluckily. And we learned the phrase pull over. If you pull to the side of the road in your car, then that's called pulling over. You pull over. We also learned the word ignore. I'm not talking to you. I'm ignoring you. No, I'm just kidding. I would never ignore Laurie. We also learned the word temporary, like short term. And we learned the word stiffly. 很僵硬的. 感觉好像便秘了。
有，我刚就想讲。
We learned the word hastily, like quickly. He hastily, well, he hastily learned his lesson in this part. He learned his lesson quickly. We also learned a very important phrase, learn one's lesson or learn a lesson. And we have the opposite of that too. We have teach a lesson. It's the same thing. Like my parents or my grandparents, this is something. Well, have you learned your lesson? That's one thing. But my grandpa said, well, do I need to teach you a lesson?
Oh.
Do I need to teach you why you shouldn't do that?
Wow.
Maybe not violent, though.
Okay, better.
Okay. So those are our words and phrases for today. And that's all the time we have.
That's right.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.